Hello, this is David Stokes with DW Pro Lights, our lighting division within Decorators Warehouse, where we specialize in great products at fantastic prices. One of the most common ways that homeowners and professionals alike will add lights to their property is by wrapping columns, by wrapping trees or posts. And so what I like to do is be able to find that tree that is a focal point. It might be one of the trees that has a unique design on their branches, and so whenever you light it up, it really shows off that tree. Whenever you're lighting a tree, there's different stages that you can do. You can wrap the trunk, you can also do a semi-branch wrap, and then as you go up, you can do a full branch wrap. You can do the ultimate, which is my favorite. That's where you wrap the trunk, you knock out the branches, and then you do it all the way to the tips. So if your budget allows, it's a great way to be able to be the envy of your neighborhood. And so there's three things that I think about whenever I go to light a tree. Number one, what type of lights do I want to use? Do I want to use mini lights, or are most popular the cluster lights? These right here are great lights because you can add a lot of lights really fast to your tree or your column. There's an 8-function controller too, so you can have it twinkle or fade in and out. But for this demonstration, I'll be using our mini lights. These are 4-inch spacing, 5mm wide conical lens mini lights. That is the standard that most people will use whenever they're wrapping their trees. So the three things: one, the type of lights that you'll use. Number two, your spacing. So what spacing do I want to use going up? And then number three, how high do I want to go on the tree or the column? And so we'll take those three factors, put it in a formula, and be able to come out with our total linear feet that we would need, and then we can take and apply that number towards our product. So we've got an estimator that's really handy online at dwprolights.com, where you can also purchase products. But on that estimator, we can actually use that to be able to punch in a few numbers, and that way you don't have to remember this long formula. For this video, I'll go ahead and rack your brains and get the calculator out so that we can figure out our project. I've got a 10-foot column. So 10 foot, do that in inches, 120 inches. So remember, 120. Then we'll take a tape measure or this flexible tape, or you can just take a string and wrap it around your column or tree to find the circumference. So we need the circumference of this column. And so it's around 3 feet, so 36 inches. So we'll take 120 inches. We've got 36 inches. And since we're using these mini lights, we're going to be doing 4-inch spacing. Each light bulb here is 4-inch spacing. So as we wrap around the lights on this column, we'll be going 4-inch spacing. So that's another number that we'll need. So we'll take 120, which is our height. And we'll divide that by our spacing, which is 4 inches. And so then we'll take that answer and multiply that by the circumference. And so we'll take that, enter it into the calculator, and it goes through all of its, secret stuff. And you come out with the answer. So it's roughly around 90 feet or so that I need for this project. 10 feet, 4-inch spacing, wrap it up, 90 feet. Then we can take that total linear feet footage and take and find out what our product is as far as a length. So this is our 70 light 4-inch spacing 5mm wide conical lens mini lights, which is 23.3 feet. So I'll use roughly 4 strands to be able to light up this column. Whenever we go on a column here, we'll take and light it from the bottom. I like to be able to light from the bottom, whether it's a tree or a column or a post. That way I can use the excess strands that are left over and go up maybe more into the branches, or kind of really just make the product shine. And I'll start at the bottom, and you'll just start going around the tree or the column. It's super easy. Right here, I'm just trying to make my paths around to get it started, and then I'll actually come back and get the spacing figured out. So we'll kind of go ahead and do that right now. There's different products, different techniques that you can use to make this a little bit easier, but I like the tried and true method of just wrapping around the tree or the column and then making it nice and tight. You use the friction as you wrap around to be able to hold the strand in place. And so I've got it wrapped around about 4 times right now. On a tree, you'll have the bark, which will actually cause more friction. But on the column here, I just kind of have it loosely wrapped around, and then I kind of work from the bottom and just start to pull it a little bit tighter as I'm making my paths. Now, God gave us our hand. That way we can be able to use our 4 fingers for the 4-inch spacing. So you may ask, what if I've got 6-inch spacing? Well, use your other hand for that 6th finger, I guess. But we can put our hand here and kind of get our paths about the hand width apart. That way we can kind of keep that nice distribution of lights. I like the 4-inch spacing. We also will have some 6-inch spacing as well to be able to wrap the lights around. So I've got it started. It's fairly tight. Then now as I wrap around, I can just keep the line tight and start to progress up the column. And so you kind of see I'm thereabouts to 4, you know, maybe a little bit higher, you know, and we can always make this tighter. If you want a lot of lights, you can do 2-inch spacing. I mean, you don't have to do it a certain way, because just having a lot of lights is better, in my opinion at least. Always just kind of depends on your budget. So here, I've come to the end. These light strands are awesome because they're LED, virtually indestructible, but they use very little electricity. And so on this particular strand, I can do over 40 strands end to end. This is one, so I've got 39 more strands that I can use. And if you'll remember earlier on this video, I need about 4 strands. So I'll go ahead and take out my next strand. What's nice too is just having these balled. It's just all wrapped up. The male connector here is on the beginning part. That way I can just plug this right in and keep on going on my project. Most of our lights that we sell online and in the store will be pre-balled. But if not, it doesn't take long to just take the female connector, start with that, and just start wrapping that around and creating a ball here. So this is an important thing to think about too, is that if I keep this tight, well, now I've got quite a bit of space in between these 2 lights here. We want to try to keep the 4-inch spacing. And what I can do is actually take a zip tie. So I'll take this little handy dandy zip tie and secure this together in such a fashion that I can keep the spacing pretty straightforward. 4-inch spacing is what we're looking for. If it's 5 or 6 or 3 or whatever it may be, you're not going to really notice that much. Take a little knife or scissors and snip that off to where it is nice and concealed. And then we just keep on going. At night, you won't see the plug. You can also remove the tags if you want to, or you can keep it on. That's a-okay, and just keep on going. And you'll just make your way up the column. And as you get higher and higher, you might need to get the ladder out. If you're 6'8", you can wait a little longer. And then as you're wrapping this around, I'm just kind of seeing if I got my spacing good. I can always adjust here. One way, if you start to see them sliding down or if you get a little frustrated, you can take a staple gun. And you know, columns maybe not so much, or if you do, you can do it on the back side of it so that you don't see it. But for trees, you can use staples, or you can hammer in little nails, little tacks that you can use. And what some people will do is actually take a zip tie and use this to kind of create a little chain. So you'll actually just take and zip tie these strands about 4 inches. And so it's kind of like a netting that you can create there to be able to keep your spacing fairly accurate. But like I was saying earlier, I like to just kind of keep it pretty tight and work my way up. So it's a fairly simple way of doing it. It takes a little bit of time, but the display, whenever you have it all said and done, is going to look fantastic. One little trick of the trade is whenever you're doing branches, you start to go out the branch and you get to the end of the branch as far as you want to go, and you want to just go on to the next branch. One thing that you can be tempted to do is just to go from that branch and create a strand going on to the next branch, and it kind of looks a little tacky. But we want to be professionals here at DW Pro Lights, and so what we like to do is actually go out on the branch and double the spacing as we go out the branch. So I'll kind of recreate that here for you. So here I've kind of doubled my spacing, so there's 8 fingers essentially. And so I'll go out the branch and then actually double back and fill in that space. So I'll go to the end of the branch, double back, and fill in this gap with the light strand, go to the base of that branch to where I can then take that other fork in the road and go out to the next branch. So that's how you can create that nice tight fit on your branches that look professional. And so these are some tips and tricks. We've got more online resources. We've got our big showroom here where we can answer any questions you may have. And so you can check us out at dwprolights.com, shop there, and we've got great resources and great tools to be able to make your Christmas a wonderful Christmas.